Hello, hello to Deborah and Nadine. Welcome to my YouTube channel.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Of course, Deborah, you're joining us from sunny Barbados. We're not envious
Yes.
at all.
Yes, I am bright and early in beautiful Barbados. Pleasure to be here.
Excellent. And of course, you're joining Nadine and myself based here in the UK.
Yeah, we're in the UK. We've got a little bit of sun, Deborah, not as much as you, but we've got a
Mm,
little bit.
yeah.
Good. Always try to bring some warmth.
Well, that's it.
Thank you.
So you're here on my YouTube channel, which I have called the ESCI channel. And that acronym stands for engaging, sharing, connecting, informing, and empowering. And I started it about a couple of years ago to share my health journey. And of course, there's more to Simone than her health battles. So I wanted the platform to be one where I'm able to talk about topics of interest to me and that will hopefully, be a blessing to other people. Which brings us rather nicely onto the topic that we're discussing today, which is the Navigating Life Anthology series, a book anthology which is due to be launched on the 31st of July. Deborah and Nadine are both authors, three, I should say, because I'm an author as well, contributing to that series. Three of us are of 29, start again. There are 29 authors in total, and we are three of those 29 authors. It's been a phenomenal experience from start to finish, from the point that the announcement was made, the jitters that some of us felt, and going through the process of, some being first time writers, authors, to the point where we are now. The books have actually been done, dusted, and it's about to be launched, or they are about to be launched, I should say, on the 31st of July. So without further ado, let's get straight to it. Deborah, first of all, how did you come across the Evolve platform?
Ah, I was invited to the Involved platform from I think its inception last year. However, I never came on until the day you launched the anthology.
Oh, really?
And really and truly that morning, I just woke up, came straight into the office and started working on something. So I left my phone in my bedroom. And when I came up, I saw two messages from Candace and Sister Glennis inviting me to. So I was like, okay, let me just hit the join button. And I got in, I think it was about 3 minutes left to the end of the session. But in those 3 minutes, I kept hearing anthology, anthology, anthology. So I quickly Googled what is an anthology, and I said, "Well, I'm here already, so I could as well join the session on the anthology."
Wow.
So I did just that, and pretty much, as the saying goes, the rest is history.
Wow, divine timing or what?
Yes, yes, yes. This entire journey has nothing to do with me. Nothing.
Wow, that's amazing.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, what actually inspired you then to put your hand up and say, yes, I will become a contributing author?
That's the thing. I heard about as they're sharing about the anthology, I saw what it was. This at this time, because my businesses are all tourism related, I have absolutely no money. So I'm listening carefully to when they say the price or whatever, and they just said scholarship, and that was my word. And I immediately sent an email. Again, I didn't know what I was going to write about. I didn't know whether I would be capable of writing anything, but they said I think it was 2,000 words and scholarship. And those were the two things I thought, okay, I can do that. And I sent the email right off, right there in the launch.
Wow.
I
No
did.
time like the present.
I didn't stop to think, well, is this something I can do or not do, or what is it I'm getting involved in, or who are these people? You know,
Wow,
I just did it.
I love it.
I just did it.
Love it. Wow. Amazing. I'm just blown away by that. Honestly, that's a first. Talk about spontaneous. I mean, that takes things to a whole other level. Really. Nadine, what about you? How did you come across the Evolve platform to begin?
Well, this is amazing because listening to Deborah, I'm literally the same. A friend of mine, Jeanette Young, she's a stylist, a fashion stylist.
Mhm.
She invited me on because she was doing a fashion segment So I came on, it was literally, yeah, when it first started. So I came on and it was hilarious because I didn't know there was a Keep Fit segment. And I was there doing to Keep Fit. I was all dressed up and I was like, I miss us, Jeanette, you didn't tell me there was going to be fitness. But we were cracking up, and I just thought it was amazing, all these women together. So I'd kind of been on and off, and then I came on the last session. They were talking about the anthology, and I was the same as Deborah. I've got to be a part of this. This is supposed to be written. So yeah, and I again, I got the scholarship as well. Wow. So God has been amazing through this. Wow. It's meant to be, definitely.
Was there any one thing that inspired you though to actually get involved? Because it's one thing thinking it's a great idea, but to put yourself forward.
It was just the unity of the women. You know, women coming together, supporting each other and being unified, and honestly being unified. That's what inspired me. I've always been writing. I've always got notebooks everywhere. So I just said, I've got to be part of this. This has to be the start of my writing journey, published writing journey. So yeah, that was it for me. Yeah. Fantastic platform.
Like you say, this is it. It's the energy for me. It's the energy of the environment that just kept propelling me. And I don't know about you.
Claudine's amazing as well.
For sure. A true blessing to us.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons as well. I was going to say, I've always had this FOMO with Evolve. So there'll be Saturdays where I'll have 101 other things to do, but I'll have to have it on in the background for fear of missing out. I just feel I need to be there, I need to be involved somehow, you know, some level of engagement, because there was always just so much rich content. There's always something, an idea, a nugget, an anthology series. You know what I mean? What if I hadn't attended that Saturday?
So true. I mean, I have a 10-year-old and I'm usually on in the background, and she'll come and peep her head round and have a look and listen to what's going on. So it's helping her as well. So it's amazing.
Fantastic. Wonderful. And yeah, Nadine, you mentioned a 10-year-old. I should have asked you at the start. What is it that you do? Do you want to just give us a...
Right, I'm a makeup artist. I'm a face painter. I do special effects for short films as well. And obviously during lockdown, I haven't been doing it. I've been doing stuff online, but it just gave me that time to reflect, to slow down and just think about the things that I should be doing, but I've been putting off or I've been distracted. So my 10-year-old, we had time together. And I've got another daughter who's 26. So we all had time together, and it was great family time.
Yes.
And, you know, think about your writing, think about the things that you've wanted to do, but you haven't done yet. So lockdown has been hard. It's been a blessing.
I see it as a rainbow. It's that rainbow in the storm.
Yeah, it's a rainbow, yes.
It's very easy to see the glass as half empty. No, I refuse. In fact, I didn't. Right from day one, my mind was literally like, oh, great. Now I can stay indoors and just focus. Work because get all the stuff done that I've been wanting to do, but I've never had time because I'm having to go out to work and all the rest of it. I always saw it as a blessing from day one. Of course, it's terrible. Of course, it's, you know, a natural thing for human beings to not be engaging and all the rest of it. But you have to see the positive in any negative situation.
Definitely.
I'm totally with you. Deborah, I mean, I know among other things, you do audio tours in Barbados. I should have asked you at the start, but what other fantastic things are you involved with?
Yes, well, right now, the main focus is, in fact, my tours and guided and private island tours. And yes, during lockdown, virtual tours became a reality. I also am a host with Airbnb, so I offer my home for visitors to Barbados, and that too would have been affected, of course, because of COVID. No one was traveling as such, and being in a home would not have been high on their priority at this time. But I'm also a deacon within the AME Zion Church here in Barbados, and my focus has been a lot throughout my entire life. My ministry has been with children and youth. Mainly, I would say mainly youth, because that's my passion. I believe that if I can make an impact on their lives, then they will make pretty decent human beings and adults. And I have had, I have looked back to the church where I used to take worship, and most of the leaders there are actually my former Sunday school children. So and youth members. So I believe I have had some impact, whether it be as a role model, whether it be something I said, whatever. the fact is that there's so many of them involved that gives me great comfort of knowing that I have served a purpose there. And I'm involved in some other national associations representing different organizations, like the same Airbnb and hosting short-term accommodation. I'm actually president of that association. I just became a member of an interim board for small tour operators. So I'm pretty busy, besides the fact that I'm also an accountant. Really and truly, I am a qualified accountant. But there's little time for that.
I don't know how you pack it all in. Wow.
Yes. So those are just a few of the things that I'm involved in.
Amazing.
Wow.
One of the things that stood out to me is the work that you do with the youths.
Yes.
Because as Nadine will know, it's a kind of worldwide thing. We have a real issue with, young Black men here in the UK with gun, knife crime, unnecessary killings, unnecessary deaths. And, it's a real issue for us here. And ironically and sadly, during the pandemic, we had a bit of a respite. I don't know if you noticed, Nadine, because there was a time where it was non-stop on the news. You'd always be hearing about deaths, sometimes 2, 3, 4 or more,
Wow.
literally on a daily basis. And then during the pandemic, we had a bit of a respite.
Yes.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And now it started up again.
Yes.
It's a real issue. And like you say, it's about trying to catch them while they're young, planting those seeds from, boyhood, ensuring that there are role models. So I think, the work you're doing in that regard is absolutely fantastic.
Yes, thank you. I am blessed because that youth group that I'm working with now is actually maybe 70 to 80% males. The males are leading. And we had a report recently by the leader, and he said in his report that youth is like his family, his second family, and he looks forward to coming every Friday night. The only issue he has is that Auntie Deborah always wants to go home. So for me, I'm thinking, well, maybe I have to think about getting sleep in another time of the day on a Friday night so that they get the opportunity, because I prefer them to be there than among those young people, as you just mentioned, who are going to get into some kind of trouble. So if it means me giving up an hour or two of sleep on the Friday night, then I'm willing to do that.
Yeah, I hear you, just to make it work for everyone. Fantastic.
Yes.
So, coming back to the anthology, Deborah, when you made that decision that you were going to be part of it, what was maybe the most challenging aspect of that?
What I was going to write about, because then so many things came, and should I write about the obvious of what happened during COVID? Should I write about one particular situation that happened in my life? What should I write about? And when this particular line that came to me and I finally wrote about, I messaged and I said, can I do it this way instead? And they were like, yeah, sure, that's fine. And I started what I didn't know at the time was a journey of relief and restoration. And there's just so many things that came out as a result of that, just starting to write that. Even the way in which it starts, it just came out. I just wrote it down, and it was amazing when I got the feedback from it, because there was no conscious effort on my part. It was no, okay, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to write. It just flowed right through. So actually the amazing thing was that at the end of the day, I probably wrote that piece, if I put all the time together, probably 8 hours or less. And it was just one straight run. It was not a, okay, let me see this, it was just poured in, and it just flowed how exactly it was supposed to come out. And it's just so amazing how it was presented to me in a way that made an impact on my life afterwards. Because I don't know if I should go on to that right now, or we should wait until that question comes. No. But one of the issues was that actually it started with my mother. And the fact is that there was a question, there were things being told to me that I never asked my mother anything about. I really never had a mother-daughter relationship. So for me, it was like, when I finished writing the piece, I was like, but I have to say something to her. I have to speak to her about this, because if I'm going to put this out there, she should know, if for no other reason than for respect. you know, not that it's not a case where I hate my mother or dislike. It just is we never had that relationship
as close as you would have.
Yeah, it was right. I always had other people playing the mother role, but my own physical mother, we never had that mothering daughter relationship. And here I am writing the impact that had, and I thought, well, she doesn't even know that this is the impact, that, you know, this is what is happening. And for me, the hardest part was actually having that conversation, starting that conversation. And that was the agonizing part. That was, the writing was easy. The writing was extremely easy. But when I was finished writing, it was having that conversation, and I prayed, and I was like, and then I went, you know what, Lord, you did this for a reason. So you're going to open up the avenue for me to have this conversation. And then he just said to me, just give her a part of the story to read, the part that, you know, speaks to her. I gave it to her to read. I walked away. I told her I'm going to come back in a day or two. She lives downstairs, mind you. I said, I'll come back in a day or two, and, you know, you can tell me what you think, because I was so afraid of it hurting her to a very bad place. And actually, when I spoke with her, I realized that she too was lied to in her upbringing, and it made a lot of sense then why she is the way she is, and it had absolutely nothing to do with me. You know, nothing at all to do with me.
Right there, Deborah. Therapy.
Yeah, and that was for me. So yes, there is a book, there is an anthology, but the greater purpose was really understanding what was going on. And now my passion now, in addition to everything else, is to help persons recognize, let's try to understand each other, let's try to figure out why people are doing, why we behave the way we behave, because really and truly at the end, we might be holding on to something that really isn't there.
Absolutely. The power of communication is what I'm hearing loud and clear.
Yes.
Wow, I'm really blown away by that. So while you're on that point, are we able to get maybe just a little snippet of your story, Deborah, just to tantalize our viewers? Okay, so I'm not going to read any of the story. I'm just going to give you the background, because part of it was that I was told by someone very close to the family, I will put it that way, someone very, very close to the family, that my mother tried to abort me as a child. Obviously as a child, come on, but she tried to abort me, and that I held on to that, and I linked it to every behavior, every interaction I had with her. I linked to the fact to that bit of information. However, in speaking to her now, I realized it was actually a case of jealousy by that particular close family member. I don't know what it is in your environment, but in my environment, I've recognized that there was a generation who still practiced this thing of if you are poor, you should remain poor, and how dare you, whatever. And if you're making your way up, no, I have to put you back in your place. You know, I have to be in control of you, that type of thing. And unfortunately, I gather from my observation and my questioning that might have been a lot of what my mother would have gone through, or my aunt would have gone through, because my grandmother, her parents died when she was very young. So she was pretty much at the mercy of persons who took her in. And I guess they didn't think that she should have had beautiful children, for example. You know, so my mother was considered a beautiful daughter, not giving into the good hair thing, but, you know, pretty with the good hair. And in their mind, she should not be, you know, and those are the type of things that therefore then influence their treatment of her, that put her into a shell, then that made it difficult for her to come out. So that is part of the genesis of my story, then and that was probably one of the reasons, I guess, that story had to be told, to help going through that process, because it's not my story. Sure.
It's a lot of our stories of that better than and lighter skin and darker skin and good hair and all that, and the extent of which it goes beyond those elements, and really, like, I adopted you and you're eternally indebted to me and you cannot do anything unless I tell you you can, you know, that type of thing. And it just snowballs and snowballs into an environment where the person is no longer able to function as themselves because they keep trying to protect themselves.
It can be quite toxic from what you described.
Yes.
There are a lot of issues there that you've touched on, Deborah. And I think that will touch a lot of people because, yeah, it's going on for sure.
Yes.
Wow. Well done for actually broaching the subject and bearing your soul, as it were. Amazing. Nadine, if I could ask you a similar cheeky question, are you able to give us maybe just a snippet so our viewers sense?
Well, I can just tell you that it was a very challenging experience in my life, something that I'd never thought I would go through. And it was just a spiral into darkness. But, you know, there's a savior and he saved me, he rescued me, he helped me to heal again. Because as Deborah was saying, it's all these things that are hidden in families. And by me writing this book, which was the same as Deborah, I had no problem writing. But then I've got an in-house proofreader, which is my daughter. She's absolutely excellent at English. And I said, you know, I thought about it for a split second. I said, can you read this for me and just go through it? And she was actually reading something that she didn't know about. So she'd read it and it actually helped us with the open dialogue to talk about this. Mum, why didn't you tell me? You know, I didn't think it was her place to know because it was such a traumatic experience. I just wanted to keep her innocence. I didn't want her to know about, but she's older now. So she was able to read it and, you know, we were just able to talk, you know, and it had some healing. But my little one, she's itching to read it. And I'm thinking, maybe not yet, maybe in a few years. But yeah, it's been brilliant. It's been fantastic.
Wow.
And I hope you're just as, you know, taken with it when you read all the stories in these books, because these are women laying themselves bare to help one another, you know, to heal. It's all about healing,
Totally.
You know, and breaking generational habits too.
Absolutely. Generational curses.
Yes.
Generational stigmas. I mean, the list goes on.
Yes.
And you talk about healing there, Nadine. I mean, if there was ever a time that the world needs healing.
Yes.
So this anthology is so timely because that's just it. You know, just to be able to recognize that we've got to have that hope. We've got to fix our eyes on the prize to know that yes, we can keep going no matter how bad.
And I was saying, sorry, just like Deborah, I forgot to talk about my ministry. I actually work on I'm on the women's board for the young ladies, and there are so many young ladies that are feel ashamed of themselves for things that some of us older women went through, but we don't want to talk about it. We need to talk about it to let them know, you know, you're human.
Absolutely.
This happened to me.
Absolutely.
You know, let them be aware. And I used to be the children's choir director. I love children. I love young people. And I just want them to, you know, be helped.
Yeah.
And that's just the way we have to do it.
For sure.
You know, one thing that has come out to me is that these stories are not for us.
They're not.
Absolutely.
These stories are not for us. And while we have to share because we need to promote and let persons know, really and truly, these stories are for the readers and whoever is going to, you know, touch. And not only the women, but the men, the people, everyone in your life, everyone surrounding you, because they need to understand as well the journeys that we have all taken. And in many cases, it's to say you're not alone because there are so many of us going through the same thing. And here is to say, you know what? I'm going through this. And Nadine went through this. And look at Nadine now. So I know for sure I'm going to be, you know, I'm going to be all right. I'm going to be great. I don't have to spend another day, another moment in this shame or in this state of what am I going to do, because Nadine went through this, you know, Deborah went through this, Simone went through this. So this is nothing new and I can do it.
For sure.
Absolutely.
And that's it, Deborah. What's coming out loud and clear as well is the need to communicate. So sadly, in the African Caribbean community, we have this thing of, or at least in my culture, you don't talk about your business.
Yeah.
You keep it private. It's nobody's business. You don't go divulging personal affairs. And it's killing us. I genuinely feel that it's such, there's no reason why issues concerning health, relationships, whatever it is, need to be taboo. It's such a toxic thing that we've been living with for generations, actually. That was one of the reasons why I decided to just completely, just do this vote fast and start vlogging on my YouTube channel. It doesn't get more public than that. I went through the valley. At the time, I couldn't talk to anyone about it. I felt like, this is the kind of thing that you don't discuss or share. It was a health condition, a gynecological illness. And, it's not so much that I felt shame, but it just wasn't the done thing. It didn't feel natural for me to be talking about what I was going through, and not just the physical part of it, but how it was affecting me mentally, spiritually, all of those things. And thank God, once I came through the valley and found that actually there is a way out, I realized, you know what? It's a condition that affects 1 in 10 women in the UK. If I can just even talk to one woman, let her know that, listen, you're not alone. There is help out there. There's no reason to be ashamed. Yes, the side effects might be horrendous and what have you, but there is life beyond your medical status or whatever condition you might be suffering with. And that was one of the reasons why, that drove me to start this YouTube platform, because we just need to talk. Genuinely, we just need to be able to be open and communicate. And it's become so evident listening to you two ladies about how much healing and how much therapy has resulted, has been a kind of positive side effect, if you like, of doing the anthology. That's just astounding. I love it. Absolutely love it. But I mean, now that you've come through the valley, Nadine, and more or less come out the other side, and now you see this whole pasture, and you are now considered an ambassador of hope.
Yes.
How does that make you feel? What message do you want to put out there?
I just want to shout it from the rooftops, basically. One thing that stuck for me when we were on the Evolve platform with Claudine said, if anyone's got anything negative to say, they're not your audience. And that just stuck with me, because there's sometimes a lot of negativity in your ears. I didn't tell anybody I was publishing this. I didn't tell anyone I was writing. The only people that knew were my children. And I just said, just get on with it, because there's going to be so many people to try and put you off. But guess what? God says, go forward and write this book, and I want people to read it, and you're going to write more books, and you're going to help people. I said, even if it's only one, I want to help that one person. So I don't care about the negativity. I'm positive and I'm going forward.
That's it. Best attitude. I love it. What about you, Deborah? Ambassador of hope.
It is a serious responsibility, and it's one that I know right up front, I can't do it in my own strength. I have to do it with God helping. I know Nadine just talked about negativity and what Claudine tells us about negativity, and I know what everyone says about negativity. And I would say I had an encounter with it on, I think it was Friday, and it actually affected me for quite more than a day. And I was surprised that it affected me for so long. And I then had to come to the point where it's like, you have to stop. I know it's you're not over it altogether. You know what needs to be done. You're not over it altogether, but you can't let this one negative thought overcome all of the other positives and what God is leading you to. But I guess in my flesh, it was to me the attack on me, or the audacity of the person's interpretation of my time might have been more what gave me the negative reaction to it. And so therefore it means that every time someone says something to me, I shouldn't necessarily take it like negative right off. I should look at what it is they're saying, dissect what they're saying, and see exactly what it is they're coming to me with. Does it have any value? If it has value, take value from it. And what doesn't have value, just throw it away. But it is something that I have to walk, this ambassador of hope journey. I just have to walk with God in it, because He's putting me places, He's giving me a voice places that I have to be responsible and not say anything in my own strength, because in my own strength, I might destroy someone's life. So I have to make sure I'm saying it in his guidance and in his direction, so that the persons would hear exactly what he wants them to hear and not what I want to say for whatever reason, because at the end of the day, of course, he gets the glory. I know sometimes it sounds so much as though you're preaching, but really and truly, when you've walked with him and you see the things, it's not really preaching. It's just a testimony of life with him. That's all it is.
Sharing. It's fantastic what you're saying. It's learning to let go of those preconceptions, because we all have them, right? We're all guilty of having those preconceived ideas. And for me, one of the things that I'm going through in my journey is learning not to judge. Learning not to judge. You don't know what's going on with the other person. You couldn't possibly understand or read their minds. So why not just come to it like an open book? And like you say, take it for what it is. If there's value, fine, hold on to the positivity. If not, let it go. Let's keep this moving. I love it. Yes. I absolutely love it. I mean, Deborah, if I were to take you back to that moment in time when you were going through it, and I know it's probably going back a while now, and experiencing all the things that you experienced and navigating life, if someone had said to you that one day you'll be bearing your soul and telling the world about it, what would you have thought? What would you have said?
No, negative. That will not be happening. That is because amazingly, I am having very difficult time convincing anyone in this season that I'm actually an introvert. I'm very, very shy. I like being in the corner. I like being in my space. I'm quite comfortable there. But more and more, he's saying to me, "No, that's not where I want you." So it's interesting that it's not my. No, anyone telling me that, I'll be like, no, that's not happening. Besides the fact that from the time I was in school, I think I always remember having a sticker that says, I always know the right thing to say right after the time to say it has passed. Mm-hmm. So that's always stuck in my head. So for me, I never have to know the right thing to say, never. So why say anything? That kind of thing. So I just I'm fine. I'm good. I'm all right here. And now I'm having all these opportunities, all these platforms all over the world, thanks to COVID. Again, another rainbow. COVID is bringing us out of our, God is using COVID to bring us out of our shell and putting us on the world stage kind of thing. Right. And I'm not doing this on my own. I just saying, okay, God, you tell me to do this, I'm doing it. Simone calls and says she's doing interviews. You just go, you just show up. You don't worry about anything. You just show up. This body, you just show up.
I love it. I love it. What about you, Nadine? Would you?
I just think this interview is amazing, because Deborah is like the same as me. I'm an introvert. Yeah. And to know that I went to my church and I was like, I'm not going to tell anyone about my singing. I don't do that anymore. It's finished. And then I was called to sing a song and I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. And then, God just progressed me, and now I'm a worship leader. And I still can't even fathom how it happened. And I'm on some platforms as well. I do intercessory prayers. One's online, which I'd usually run from. And another one, we do a prayer line and a Zoom. So I literally look back and I think, how did this happen? How did this happen? And if I was told, I would run a mile.
Yeah, mm-hmm. He moves in mysterious ways.
What God says do, you just go and do it.
You follow. Absolutely. Wow, that's amazing. So, I mean, just in the interest of time, if I were to ask you now, you've come through the valley and new pastures, green pastures, what's next on the agenda for you, Nadine?
I'm just going to let God lead, and I'm not going to be afraid. I'm going to feel the fear if there is any, and I'm just going to do it anyway. Mm-hmm. If I'm helping somebody somewhere, I'm going to keep going forward. As they say in Grenada on my mum's side, forward ever, backward never.
I love it. Love it. That's a great note to conclude. I love it. Fantastic. And what about you, Deborah?
Oh, well, I was going to agree with everything that Nadine said. I mean, from here on, all I have to do is just keep going forward. And for me, it's don't ask how or, what the resources are going to be. I know he's going to provide. So just keep going wherever I find myself. sometimes I find myself in positions I go, how did I get here? Just remember, he's going to give me whatever resources I need, what words I need, you know, everything he's going to provide. And I just need to surrender and say, here I am, send me, and I'll go forth. And that's it. That's it.
Absolutely. I love that. For me, I always say it's just knowing your why you're doing what you're doing, because that's where the passion is born out of. How you're going to get there, that's none of your business. You just leave it to him to, you know, direct that sat nav, and you just follow, like you say, Deborah, just follow his lead.
Yes.
The other thing that I've learned in my journey as well, I think I read a quote somewhere, what other people think about you is none of your business. None of your business. It's just going to detract and distract and take you off course. Just stay in that lane. The naysayers, let them just keep it moving.
Yes.
Press ahead.
Yes. For sure.
And I was going to say, also, I've got 2 daughters. How can I be saying to them, you know, go for your dreams, do what your heart desired, and I'm not doing it myself. I have to be the example. So, I mean, I think they're proud of me, but, you know, I'm proud of them. They're amazing. They're amazing.
I'd say so. Wonderful. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me on my platform. This has been such an interesting conversation to have. I have loved sharing and hearing, you know, snippets of your stories. I cannot wait to read. And once again, just to remind you all that that anthology series, the Navigating Life anthology series, is being launched on the 31st of July, 2021. It's a Zoom online event. Details will be coming out soon, so stay tuned. Everything will be out there on social media. Just keep your eyes peeled. Deborah and Nadine, in terms of connecting with your audience, with readers, with viewers, I take it you have your social media handles and website addresses, etc. If you'd like to just share those with me, I will be quite happy to put them in the link below so people can get in touch and follow you on your amazing journeys that no doubt you have ahead of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Simone.
Once again, well, honestly, it's been a true honor to have you on here. Thank you so much for joining me. And just to wish you all the very best in your respective journeys. And yeah, Godspeed.
Thank you. Thank you. You as well. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Oh, thank you.